Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I wanted to go over how avoidants act when you're their situationship versus their relationship. A lot of you guys are asking if I can make videos about situationships or like people who are not in relationships. And I think the first thing that's important is to establish where you fit in that particular criteria because every particular individual has a different set of how their relationship works. But this is just what I've kind of gathered, what I think is a difference. I don't even really know what a situationship is. To me, they're like kind of weird. Nothing against you guys. I don't even know why society is doing this. Like, I don't get that. But whatever. The first one is texting. The texting amount. What I notice is people who are more likely in situationships, their texting is less frequent. It's definitely not daily. Very, very uncommonly is it daily. And it usually is random or based on emotions or external factors when you two communicate by text. The next one is for the relationships in the texting amount. It's typically daily or very frequently. That one is pretty common. Most people who are in any sort of relationship, texting every day is expected. Even if avoidants don't really want to text every day, it's something that just happens. I'm a person that I used to be avoidantly attached. I never really had an issue with texting every day. I didn't think it was too much of an issue as long as I liked the person. And my significant other told me this, I remember. He was a person who was never comfortable texting daily or like really, he said he would go like with all his, like any other interaction before me, he would just not want to. It was very frustrating to him. It just was overwhelming. But he told me with me, he always, that was something that he wanted to do and something that he was committed to do right when we met. Like there was, I don't know, something just that he felt it was valuable to text every day. And so he just did that the whole entire relationship or communicated daily, whatever it is, right? And that was something he did not do before. And so I gave that example because it's possible that maybe everything else before me he just didn't view as serious. I don't know. He told me that. And so maybe there's some truth to it. I don't know. I don't really, people say things. I'm not sure. But he's always mentioned like that is something that he specifically noticed immediately with me. The communication daily. I think the other thing is like the effort. He always mentioned like the effort he put into this relationship was far more comparison to anything he's ever had before in a lot of ways. So I think that, I don't know, that's just some information that maybe can help. The next one is texting and phone call content, what the texting is about. If it's a situationship, it tends to be more brief or less emotionally charged, whereas relationships, it's more like daily, able to resolve issues over phone or text, able to apologize over phone or text. And so it's going to be a little bit more able for emotional depth. The next one is arguments and fighting. In a situationship, I've noticed when issues arise, you can go days or weeks without talking. That's not healthy conflict resolution. It shows that both people have immaturity or something, like, or there's some sort of gridlock, or maybe people need space, whatever it is. But a continuous pattern of that is not necessarily healing shows that these two people don't have a strong enough emotional bond to process these things, or they don't have enough of a commitment yet to sort out these issues and try and find something that works. It's a little different with the relationships I've noticed. If an issue arises, even when those issues are not sorted out right away, they still are addressed to some extent, they're still processed, and they still are collaboratively explored, which means they can collaboratively say, we don't have to talk about this right now, but it doesn't mean they don't talk. Some people do that, but it's not a healthy sign in relationships. Typically with healthy relationships, you still talk to each other. You just might not talk about the issue, but you definitely mutually agree to not talk about it. You don't ignore it or act like it's not there. That's not usually what happens. And normally after a little bit of time, you do want to talk about those issues. But most couples or some couples are okay with resolving some of it right away. The next one is milestones, okay? Situationships, I notice milestones are not really discussed or they're tiptoed around. Relationships, it's really interesting. I would say it's almost like it's it looks very different. As a couples therapist, it's just very different. You can see milestones are talked about sometimes in very great detail, and sometimes it's they're not even fully on the same page yet, but they definitely know how the other person stands, and it's almost like they're trying to get the other person to hear them out. And normally what I really like to see about couples is, even though they're not on the same page about milestones, they try to find a same page. So let's say a couple is in a relationship and they are, let's say, one's avoidant, one's anxious. The anxious person wants to move in right away. And I'm not saying like they just met, but they're saying like they've been together for, let's say, a couple years, and the anxious person is saying, moving in is really important. That should be our next step. And the avoidant person is saying, I've never lived with anybody before. I don't want to move in at all. So now they have a really strict stance. But usually the middle ground is like, okay, maybe they start sleeping over together more, they go on trips together more, and then maybe after a year or two, they can look into moving in. And so the timeline changes a little bit, the milestone changes slightly, but usually they get kind of both what they need. The avoidant person needs more time, the anxious person wants a step. And so you can kind of find that together. That's usually how relationships look like. The next one is time seeing each other. People who are in situationships, what I notice, it's like more infrequent and there's no pattern. Whereas people who are in relationships, they're more frequent and more patterned. I have some couples that are, avoidantly attached, or one of them is avoidantly attached, and they see each other once a month, which is not very frequent. However, it is established, it's patterned, right? It's been like that for years. And then as time goes on, sometimes they move to once a week and then a couple times a week. And so you still see that. It's just the pattern is more common for relationships, whereas if it's more of a situationship, it's less pattern. That's the way I'm going to look at it. And so I want to talk about some disclaimers or like caveats. A situationship, from my understanding, can turn into relationships, or it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It just means that maybe there's still time, you need time to grow and learn about each other. And if you've been in that stage for a while, maybe it's time to have more deeper conversations and stop tiptoeing around certain triggers, or stop expecting your partner to read your mind, or stop holding on to certain things. Be more comfortable with, facing some of your fears to some extent. That can really help. Another thing is, if you fit all the situationship, aspects in this video, and you think you're in a relationship, you're probably right and I'm probably wrong. I don't know you. I'm just making a video based on things that I'm seeing and learning. So I would say focus more on what you know more than what I know, because I don't know much, right? I'm just one person, and I can't know everything. It's impossible. And in fact, I might think I know something and I could be very wrong. And so it's just important to remember that. Don't take everything I say and just get all twisted up about it. It's not healthy. Just, if you feel like maybe some things I'm saying does reflect, that's fine. But if you don't think it does, take what you're saying. I don't know, okay? And so let's go ahead and summarize. Texting amount. People who are in a situationship, it tends to be less frequent, whereas people who are in a relationship, it's more daily. Similar with phone conversations. Situationships are more brief, whereas relationships are more detailed. Arguments. Situationships, they don't finish their arguments typically. They leave it, they don't talk about it. They go days without texting after some sort of argument, and it's a very strange situation. Relationships do not typically do that. If they do, it's a pretty unhealthy one. Usually relationships, they agree upon or have conversations, and they don't leave things and just not talk to each other for like 2 weeks because somebody was upset about something. That doesn't usually happen. Milestones. Situationships don't really talk about them. Relationships talk about them even if they don't agree on them. They talk about them. And time seeing each other. Situationships, they're infrequent or they're just not patterned, whereas relationships are more frequent, and they're more patterned. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.